No wine today.
What a great intro, Jack. That is a great intro to this live stream. So what's up, everybody? This is Moose, Brian, and Jack here from Occupy Fantasy and DFS Magic. Here to talk about some NHL DFS picks and lineup advice for FanDuel and DraftKings this day of March 9th, 2021. At the left of your screen, that's me, at CFB_Moose. At the top right of your screen, we have Brian, at BrianChesterFF on Twitter. How are you today?
I'm good, Moose. Yeah, like Jack, no wine, but that's for me every day. But yeah, great slate tonight. Tickets for everybody. So big NHL DFS night before NBA takes over again later this week.
Yeah, it's definitely ticket season tonight, so always good to have for those type of nights. And then at the bottom right of your screen, you all know him, Jack at DFS_Magic_. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, man, doing good. Hey, Brian, happy to be here. And yeah, like you said, exciting night. I think a lot of people have some tickets that they're going to play tonight. Lots of huge prizes available, and hopefully we can get into it, answer some questions, and come up with good strategies.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Brian, you said it's ticket night. There's a Spinorama on DraftKings, and then there's, what is it called, on FanDuel. How many tickets do you all have?
Yeah, so it's the Super Goal on FanDuel. I honestly haven't been playing as much on FanDuel lately, so I don't have any tickets to that. I do have 3 tickets to the Spinorama. That's the $360 entry, but honestly, that pales in comparison to Jack and some of our other members who have tickets tonight. So if you guys are watching this and you have tickets for either of the contests, let us know in the chat, and we'll certainly help you out. Jack, you have a billion tickets tonight, it sounds like.
No. I have 9 spins, 7 Super Goals, and a few of the $15 qualifier. Minnesota Matt Discord, I think he said he has 18 spins.
Wow.
I don't know, Claire's got several. He may have 11 or 12 or something like that. I think a handful of people at least have 1 or 2. So it's pretty awesome. I think there'll be a lot of Occupy logos in the tournament. Hopefully we'll see some at the top.
Yes, that'll be absolutely great. I can't wait to see that. And so if you do have tickets, if you're here watching, put in the chat how many tickets that you all have. That'd be great. What's up, FBI says it's tonight, another unload your bankroll kind of night. Brian, if you have tickets, go for it. All right.
Yeah, I mean, we have an 8-game slate, but again, kind of like last night, and maybe even worse than last night, some uncertainty with lines on different teams, which requires a lot of monitoring up and near lock and post lock, and sometimes the decisions aren't easy. And with a few games, I was about to say tipping off, facing off, I don't know what the hockey term is, starting at 7 o'clock, then you have multiple things you're looking for. So I would say use your tickets, play some high risk contests, look for some satellites, but unfortunately, Ed, definitely not an unload your bankroll night.
Yeah. Also, really quick, I do want to point out a little bit something new to the channel. If you look down below where the like, subscribe, and bell notification is, which you should absolutely do right now, there's also the join feature. So before on Twitch, we had the subscribe, you get access to our Discord, and now we have it where you can join our YouTube membership. It's a lot cheaper than Twitch, and you get access to our Discord. OccupyFantasy.com/Discord is where you can find out more information about that. Then just hit the join button down below, put you on a monthly subscription, and you'll be all good. As Brian points out in the chat here, today is a good day to win big. It's always a good thing.
Every day is a good day to win big, but shit, why not let it be the night where we got 100K to first?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So I'll start off with you, Jack, here. There were some things that you released in the builder today. Do you want to kind of talk about that? Some of the new features added?
Yeah, sure. So had a few requests for an easier way to just quickly add players. I think people like strict mode because you can control everything, but it's pretty tedious, to add all your guys, especially on a large slate like tonight. So just added some shortcut buttons in the tools menu to allow you to just add every player in either one of the 3 even lines or the power play units to your pool with just a click of one button. Definitely still recommend you actually check through those players and make sure they're guys that you want or don't want, but just an easier way to do that. And then actually, when your NBA starts back up, you'll see another one for that, which is I think I put every player over 20 minutes, and then also every starter. So those are a couple easy ones for people. And And then the second one's a very specific one that I think you guys maybe talked about in a previous stream, and it's the limiting power play stacks to just a single center. And now that's just available as a checkbox in the team auto stacking rules.
Okay, that's absolutely amazing. Love to see that. We'll get into that very soon. But I just want to say what's on screen here is the Occupy Fantasy Daily Plug. You can check it out at occupyfantasy.com. And if Nightbot actually works this time, I'm going to go ahead and put in the link in the chat and see if that works. But Brian, is there anything you want to talk about in the plug, or should we just hop right over to the builder?
Yeah, if you go down to the betting odds section of the plug, our co-founder Waleed writes the NHL Daily Plug Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays to give you a look at the top lines, the top stacks, top goalies to look for. But I think the biggest thing we're going to look for tonight as we look at the betting odds is Tampa Bay's a minus 345 favorite. Their team total is a half goal higher than the next closest. And kind of how we saw last night, Edmonton had a huge implied team total lead over any other team on the slate. They got the ownership to match it. So Jack, I imagine, not just Vasilevsky at goalie, who's going to be the most popular netminder on the slate, but Tampa Bay skaters with that high of a team total, even on an 8-game slate, I imagine going to be pretty popular too.
Yeah. In my brief experience, they're not usually a team where a single player like McDavid or Matthews gets 40, 50%, but they do regularly get double digits. And I think you're right. We see how much the projections on other sites are influenced by the odds that you just identified. So I don't think it would shock us to see Tampa Bay won at, in the 20% ownership range tonight, even on an 8-gamer. And you're right. I mean, Vasilevsky's already a good player at that large of a favorite. I would say his floor is 20% ownership, even on this large of a slate.
Fade City.
Yeah, and speaking of Fade City, Feinstein says in the chat, what goalie should we target in high risk? Brian, I know one of the strategies you'd like to do is basically if anyone's over 15-20%, just X them. Don't even worry about them at all.
It goes just real quick, Moose. It goes back to just having a simplified process in these high level heuristics where it's like in NFL, if the wind gets over 15-20 miles per hour, I'm not stacking that game, right? Obviously there are intricacies to each one, but if you just follow that rule blindly over the course of your DFS career, it's a profitable approach. And I think what we'll be coming across this year, especially this season for NHL DFS, if you just in high risk contests, you fade those high owned goalies, you're gonna come out on top more often than not. Even in a situation where Vasilevsky's minus 345, lines moving in their favor, Detroit projected for a very low number of high danger chances. Like, again, fading him and getting that 2% goalie that's cheaper and ends up scoring more is the ultimate key to high risk. So maybe we can bring up the model or the builder and look at who might fit the bill tonight at goalie.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the builder view, which it'll hide our faces, but it will show the builder on a larger screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and we'll see you later.
And just to point out, large favorite goalies can still fail. Just 2 nights ago, Boston was like a minus 2-something, 75 to New Jersey. Goalie was 33% owned. New Jersey goalie scored 52 points at 1% ownership on FanDuel. I mean, so like that just is why in high risk it just makes so much sense that you could have your skaters just do okay, but you have a 50-point goalie at 1% ownership, you're going to be skyrocketing to the top.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, yep. I completely agree with you there, Jack. And plus, also, in case of the rare 5 minutes before the game starts scratch, that's always fun when you have a large, very expensive goalie do that. Kind of happened to me with the Vegas Knights the other night, which was not fun, but hey, it is what it is. Brian here in the chat says, Matthews' wrist is not healed and his wrist is still affecting his shot. Yeah, that's not good. You need your wrist to shoot the shot.
Yeah, so I guess it's referring to Austin Matthews for the Maple Leafs. And we'll get into this here in a second. We're here till 5:30 or so. I noticed that the builder was giving me a lot of Toronto too anyway, so that kind of helps out then if I'm playing the Tavares line instead of the Matthews line at his high price tag.
Yep, cool. So I'm in here on the DraftKings main slate for NHL, and I'll swap over to the multi-build, and I'll filter out just goalies. And so now here it's sorted by the OF index. Jack, did any of these goalies here for the DraftKings section stand out to you in a hybrid setting?
Yeah, I mean, I've honestly did not think about it the way Brian did until he mentioned it, and I've just been following what he said. You know, I think when you get into the projected ownership, like 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, it's, you know, in reality, we don't know if that's exactly right, but the point is that's not a chalk player, right? It's probably a single-digit ownership goalie. If you see guys in here that are 21, 18, those are guys that are going to be heavily owned. We may not nail the percentage, but they're going to be significantly higher owned than everyone else. And so just looking at this, you know, I think that there's like a 21 and an 18, right? Hart and Vasilevsky. Yeah. So for me tonight, I'm just not going to play them in high risk. And could they do well? Yes. But if they do well, it's just going to be so hard for me to win anyway because so many other people are playing that. That's kind of why we do it this way.
Yeah, not to mention, like, you know, even if they do well, we still have a chance to match that with our low-owned goalie, right? We're not out of the running if they put up a 40 spot or whatever it is. But if you don't play the 2% goalie that puts up a 40 spot, then you're in big trouble.
Yeah, no, you're completely right on that. And it's almost kind of like what we do with MLB, where you see these huge chalk pitchers, and it's like, man, he's Kershaw's a minus 300 favorite. Well, let's play someone that's not him and hope for the best. And more times than not in high-risk contests, if that lower price, lower-owned guy hits, then you're looking absolutely swell. But just to answer this question, Brian or Jack, if you want to answer any specific goalie that you like.
I'll say the number 3 and number 4 guys in the model, Khudobin and Anderson, stick out a lot to me. Line movement in their favor, especially in Khudobin's sense as a number 3 goalie. Pretty cheap on both sites, and projected sub 10% ownership. And yeah, the line has moved from minus 127 to minus 148. Chicago's team totals dropped almost a quarter goal. So yeah, Khudobin I think is the best high risk option in my mind. And about that MLB pitcher analogy, it's even worse than that, because even in MLB we can accurately project strikeouts, which are big for both FanDuel and DraftKings scoring, and that can buoy a player's floor and ceiling. We don't get that. Like, you can't predict how many goals they're going to allow in hockey, right? There's no basis for like there's no floor like a strikeout metric. So it is really tough, and it makes it even worse than baseball in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So how do you want to take it from here? Jack, I'll ask from here. How would you take it from here? I know you're starting to build. I don't necessarily do DraftKings as much, so I guess we can. Yeah, how do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so I usually do the same thing that I think Brian has shown. You know, I like to just kind of like some goalies, and maybe we can exclude the top 2 that we don't like, and just run it on the low randomizer. Probably something like a 5K salary range, and just to see what it's going to do. That's kind of how I would start.
Cool. So just to confirm, show everyone what we're doing here, I changed the minimum salary to $45,000. Thumbs up to 3 and 4 goalies. Excluded these top 2 goalies here, Vasilevsky and Hart. And then we'll just go into the stack settings really quick and just add the stack settings that we like here.
And we actually get to click the checkbox, max of 1 center per power play, which is great because I don't have to make any custom rules for like 7 different teams anymore, which is great. As you run that, actually, go ahead, Jack.
No, just want to make sure you actually click the full stacks as well in advanced.
Yeah, I just went ahead and clicked that now. Yep.
Cool. Let me see. So Moose, while you're running that, we're waiting to see what the builder's spitting out tonight. Totally not the FBI in the chat, who is Athlete Ed in our Discord, says for DK having to play 3 different team skaters, you recommend running a one-off or 1 main and 2 mini stacks. And if it's a one-off, what position is it best to one-off? So Jack, I'll throw this alley-oop question to you, because we pretty much found the best way to approach this in high-risk contests.
Yeah, we have, and if you guys haven't read the Occupy Fantasy NHL strategy guide, it's in there. We can probably post a link to it before the end, but what we found for DraftKings is a 4-man stack and a 3-man stack, and then the 1 is a one-off on his own team, and that player is a defender. So you generally want to do a 4-man stack that includes a defender, a 3-man stack that's offensive skaters, and then a single one-off defender. And then the goalie, you can stack a goalie with your stack skaters, or you can play just a different goalie. And that's the strategy. And then, Brian, do you want to talk about the approach you take to identifying those one-off defenders versus, the stacking defenders?
Yeah, and again, we've hit on this point a couple times. If you're playing 4-3-1s on DraftKings, many times that one player we wanted to be of the cheaper variety. I set it somewhere below $5,000. So we get a sub 5K defenseman. The idea being, especially on DraftKings, they can rack up points with blocks and shots on goal, and they don't have to score a ton at their price tag, especially if you get like the 3K type of guys. So guys that are in the model that either play on a power play unit and are sub 5K, or have the high opportunity skater logo next to their name and their sub 5K. That's my exclusive defenseman pool for one-offs.
Cool, awesome. So we went ahead and the builder just finished, and it's given a cool 52% of Philly, which is definitely very high. But we talk about them in the plug. They're the top stack in the plug, top stack in the model. Brian, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. And remember, we also have the setting on low here, so it's giving us the most optimal lineups. I'm curious to see what the top team pair exposures are, which teams are being paired up together. And then just looking at the card view, which stack is the best projected according to the model.
Cool. So if we go to team pair exposure, just some of the top stacks: Toronto, New York Islanders, Dallas, New York Islanders, Jersey, Philly, Toronto, Philly, Columbus, Philly, Carolina, Philly. So Philly and New York Islanders look to be like the top so couple stats.
Interesting. And then the top overall lineup that it spit out was.
Let's see. Go to the card. Here, what's here? And of course, it gave us the one-off in the defender, which is always nice.
Sick.
Yeah, and that process that Brian just described is really what we're doing every night, especially when we're trying to identify those like single entries or small number of entry lineups. So if you're looking to start your ticket entry process tonight, build on low, do just what we're doing, look at the top pairs, the top teams, look at the top projected lineups, and then from there you can kind of branch out and start making more individual decisions. But like this gives you a really good basis for probably what your lineup should look like.
Yeah, and I actually, Jack, I want to pick your brain a little bit since you're the creator of the builder. So I always like looking at the top projected lineups, and if I'm trying to, again, I probably do more damage if I look intensely at the lineups and try to pick the best one, and I'm putting in air quotes here, my face is on screen, but air quotes, trying to pick the best lineups by looking at them and looking at team pairs, right? All these are good lineups with the way that they're built. One of the things I'll do is, because when you download the lineups, right, the Excel file or the CSV that's downloaded from DFS Magic, those lineups, it's the order in which they were created, right, in this CSV. Is that right?
Yes, they are coming out the order in which they're created. So you could actually think about it as if it was just building that one lineup, right? The first one or whatever. But yeah, it's not filtered by projection or anything.
So what I like to do, I like to look at, all right, what's the top projected one? I also like to see what's the first lineup that the builder spit out, because it has our optimal settings and it's looking at all the things we're looking at. Am I thinking about that the right way, in the sense that the first lineup that it spits out is going to be at least the most adhering to all of our rules? Is that right?
Yeah, I think the way to think about it is, as more and more lineups are built, it starts running into constraints, particularly uniqueness being one of them, right? So yeah, that first lineup is really the purest optimization, if you think about it that way, because it can choose literally anything and has no other constraints other than those basic rules we gave it. So yeah.
Yeah, so I've been taking that first quote unquote pure lineup and throwing it into satellites as well. So yeah, again, I think a lot of discussion today, as we have 10 to 15 minutes left, is how do I pick these lineups for my tickets? And there's no easy answer, but there are a variety of ways, and the builder can at least Moose help you look at some of the different options.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but once you explain it, because I've been trying to pick Jack's brain, been trying to pick your brain, because not only do you do multi-entry 150 max, you also do these single entry or satellite lineups, and so always fun to pick your brain on how you are able to, because it's such a huge different game with 150 compared to a single entry. So I'm glad you're able to share that experience. We got about 10 minutes left, guys and girls, here in the show. Again, if you like what you saw, hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to be notified of when we go live for the next time or we upload a new video. And if you want to go ahead and comment, say something in the chat. Real quick, Feinstein says, is Khudobin an option in high risk? And are we favoring Toronto line 2 with that news about news up top about Matthews' risk?
Yeah, I think Khudobin is a top high risk play according to the model for going with the fade the high owned goalie strategy. And I mean, I was playing a ton of Toronto too. The builder's spitting out a bunch of Toronto too. So I think it favors it anyways. But that's the kind of context that, you know, a model or a builder can't take into account, right? Someone's lingering injury, and that's where news like that is nice to read. We just don't want to put too much weight on it.
Yeah. And Jack, I'll ask this question to you because you seem to be the more extreme with it. He also asked, should we be worried about leaving money on the table for high risk?
Yeah, so I don't think so. I think correlation and projections matter far more than salary, and I think I haven't played baseball yet, but I think of, you know, hockey, basketball, football, hockey is by far, using the salary by far the least important in hockey. And so, you know, I generally would recommend at least a $5,000 range if you're building lineups. And you got to remember, you know, the builder's not going to give you trash. It's going to pick optimal stacks. So even if it's using only 45,000 or even 42,000 of the salary, it's still doing that because it picked a combination of guys that are projected well. And you know, I keep using this example, like I think it was 3 weeks ago now, but on FanDuel, on like a full 8-game slate, there was a lineup that used 42K salary of 55, and it was winning for most of the night. They didn't win; they got third, but it was just 2 stacks that went off, and the price doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, you'll never do that in NBA DFS where you leave 5,000 on the table. It's a recipe for just setting money on fire. But in correlation sports, and for those of you who watch this and play esports with us, same concept, right? When the correlation matters this much, the salary is pretty much irrelevant because the 2 highest scoring stacks can easily leave a bunch of money on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, back to your NBA thing, you're not going to play all 6-7 men and no starters and just get absolutely just destroyed. Let's see here. Johnny says, "Hey gents, I mainly play quintuple ups, so just trying to build to clear that cash line. Would you just select your top in air quotes after you set your pool and rules? Would you do that too, Brian? Like you mentioned earlier."
Yeah, but I think I would still. I mean, I would consider the high-owned goalies a little more in quintuple ups. You're not trying to beat, you know, 10,000 people, whatever. So I would consider those goalies a little more. I would probably set some rules around not having 2 high-owned stacks together, just because it is a high-risk contest. You got to beat 80% of the field, although it's a smaller portion. So keeping that in mind, yeah, I would still look towards either the highest projected lineup, the highest which 2 teams are being paired together most often, and go with the lineup that features those 2 teams, or something along those lines.
Cool. Awesome. So we have about 5 minutes left. I'll kick it back over to you, Jack. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to run it with high? Do you want to talk about some FanDuel some more? What do you want to do?
I just want to offer or share my own stress with tonight. You know, like I think a lot of people are excited. There's a ton of money available, so people may be tempted to play a lot tonight with a lot of 7 p.m. starts and a lot of game time decisions and line shifts. Just realize that, you know, we're not going to be able to see 8 different teams' line changes and make all the correct swaps tonight. So whether that means you kind of shape your player pool accordingly, or maybe you only play on one site, or you play enough that you control that a little bit. Just, it's really something to keep in mind, because, you know, if you're entering a bunch of lineups that you know there's uncertainty, but you don't have time to make the right swaps, you're just throwing money away at that point. And I know it's tempting to do it and say I can do it, but we've seen this year with hockey. We see lines come out like 10 minutes before the game.
Yeah, it's absolutely rough. And as you were talking about earlier here on the chat, 7 o'clock is going to be very stressful for you tonight.
Yeah, and we actually got some words in the chat. Actually, Clary posted here in the Discord that Roman Josi is likely out, Nashville defenseman on the power play 1. Looking here now. Yeah, Josi obviously ranks pretty highly most of the time. So we'll have to see who's affected, who slots into that power play 1 role for the Predators tonight.
Perfect. And then also it looks like Clay says, hey guys, what was the other new feature that Jack mentioned in the builder? Yeah, we can go ahead and show that too. If you go over back to the multi-build tab and you go to strict mode, what you can do then is underneath this tools section, there's add all EV 1, 2, 3, PP1, PP2 offensive skaters to the stack pool. So you can just click this, and it's taking its time. And if we go back to the skaters, you'll see that on all line ones, it's added them into the stacks, which is just awesome.
Perfect.
Awesome. Brian, do you have any last words or anything else you want to add, talk about for the next couple minutes?
Yeah, I think as always, we like to close out the show with some picks and some specific plays that we want to recommend. For the people who've listened to the strategy section, now they want to know, all right, who the hell did we play tonight? I think we talked about the goalies a good amount, especially Khudobin and Anderson being guys we'd like. And even if you drop a little further down the goalie list, looking at some of those low-owned guys. Also look in the model and look at the line move section. If you can find a guy that's ranked, after the top tier, but has good line movement in his favor, that's certainly an option to play in high-risk contests as well. But I think we should talk about some of these low-owned stacks that we're going to pair either with high-owned stacks or pair with each other that the model likes that aren't necessarily that highly owned on either FanDuel or DraftKings. Give me 1 second. I'm looking at one thing here, and I'm kind of interested because, they have a lot of correlation. Boston's line 1. And they're the 6th ranked stack in our dashboard, but projected for just 11% ownership on both sites. Jack, I always love getting these highly correlated, expensive lines that go overlooked because another team on the slate has higher team totals.
Yeah, and I think the tendency, like last night, everyone wants to jam McDavid and figure it out. Tonight, everyone wants to jam Matthews and figure it out. You're probably not going to fit Boston 1 and Matthews, which is why people are going to look elsewhere. You want a GPP with a line just like that with San Jose. So Boston, is more expensive, but like you said, that's really low ownership for Boston. I also think, I'm trying to look at the table here. The model has been on Islanders 1 and Philly 1 for a while, and Philly 1 ownership looks pretty high. Islanders, 21%. DraftKings only 7% on FanDuel. I'm going to probably be all over that. And they've kind of flirted with it this year. They've scored a couple goals at a time. They haven't really gone off yet. I think, as we saw from the builder, it really likes them tonight. So that's another one I might target.
And Moose, I'll give you one final play. The ultimate leverage stack in high-risk contest. If Vasilevsky's going to be 20% plus owned. Chicago's line 1 is the 11th ranked stack in our model. And they're projected for just 4 to 7% ownership.
Wow.
God forbid Chicago somehow scores 3 to 4 goals and it's correlated.
That'll be absolutely nuts. So just to leave you all with some treats, I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to our faces, and I'll bring up the even stack dashboard while I take us out of here. So we have the stack dashboard here sorted by DraftKings ownership and all of our pretty faces here. So I do just want to say thank you all for joining us tonight. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, again, you can check out the Discord. If you are new here, hit the like, subscribe, and bell notification to be notified of when we upload new videos or go live. If you want to support us monetarily, you can go ahead and hit that join button, get access to the Discord. You can check out OccupyFantasy.com for the model and the lineup builder. But until next time, Moose, Brian, and Jack from Occupy Fantasy and DFS Magic, have a good one.
Luck.